Hi and welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we're talking about Rhaegar Targaryen, known as the Last Dragon. And without further ado, let's begin. So he was born in 59 AC to Rhaegar and Aerys II, and he was born on the very day that Summerhall was engulfed in flames, leading to the saying that he was born amidst grief because most of his family died as he was given life. As a child, he was said to read obsessively to the point that jokes were made about him, some of them saying Rhaella must have swallowed some candles and a book while she was pregnant with him because he came out so bookish. He wasn't inclined to the martial habits as a young boy and would be the only surviving child of his parents for 17 years before Prince Viserys was born, and of course Rhaella would be pregnant in the midst of these 17 years, but she always lost the child or it was stillborn, etc. And it actually caused Aerys to be quite suspicious towards her because she lost so many of the children. Rhaegar was said to be the most beautiful man in the Seven Kingdoms, and Cersei Lannister surely agrees. Had any man ever been so beautiful? He was more than a man, though. His blood was the blood of old Valyria, the blood of dragons and gods. He had dark indigo eyes, long slender fingers, and was taller than his brother Viserys would grow to be in his adult life. He also had the famed Targaryen hair and was intelligent, said to excel in everything that he put his mind to. But he loved his silver-stringed harp more than he loved his lance, so I guess you could say he was a lover, not a fighter. He was also said to be bookish to a fault, and was deeply affected by the shadows of Summerhall because he was quote-unquote born in grief. And a conversation between Daenerys and Ser Barristan illustrates this. But I am not certain it was in Rhaegar to be happy. You make him sound so sour. Not sour, no, but there was a melancholy to Prince Rhaegar, a sense of doom. He was born in grief, my queen, and that shadow hung over him all of his days. But I also understand how this affected Rhaegar growing up because all around him was people saying he was born amidst tragedy, that he was born in grief. And to know that you were born on the very night that most of your family died, it has to be a heavy burden to carry. It has to be a melancholy feeling to know that you were given life as your family was given death, basically. Though never the warrior in his youth, something he'd read in one of his scrolls made him motivated to become one. So he went to the Master at Arms, I think it was Sir Willem Darry, and said, "I will require a sword and armor. It seems I must be a warrior." And I find this quote so funny, so unintentionally funny in a way, because it really illustrates how Rhaegar was so burdened by his glorious purpose that he was like, ugh, I have to be a warrior, I guess. He was knighted at the age of 17 and grew into a highly skilled and capable fighter. Though Rhaegar didn't love the songs of swords like men like Jaime Lannister and Robert Baratheon did, for him it wasn't a passion, it wasn't a glory. For him it was a purpose, it was necessary, it was something he had to do. It was a duty. He was very close companions with Jon Connington, as we know, Richard Lonmouth, and Miles Mouton, and I love how every single character that knew Rhaegar Targaryen still thinks about him and thirsts about him. If we use Cersei's chapters, for example, this woman is still thinking about him. 13 years later, she's still half in love with him. She's still infatuated with the idea of him, the handsome dragon prince. And Jon Connington as well. Jon Connington literally took care of his supposed child because he loved Rhaegar so much. However, his closest and oldest friend was Sir Arthur Dayne, the Sword of the Morning himself, of whom he trusted more than Ser Barristan Selmy. Rhaegar was wont to visit the ruins of Summerhall with only his harp in tow, and when he returned, he sang songs so beautiful it reduced women to tears, so I guess we can say Rhaegar was the OG guitar guy. A tournament in celebration of Prince Viserys' birth was held in 276 AC, by Lord Tywin Lannister, and we all know why Tywin held this tournament. He wanted it to be a moment where he would announce the betrothal between Rhaegar and Cersei. However, Aerys trashed his parade. Aerys said something along the lines of, "Well, you're an able servant, Tywin, but the dragon doesn't marry a servant, haha." And I guess that was the point of no return for Tywin when it came to his hate for Aerys. And as there were no sisters, cousins, aunts, nieces, nephews, whatever blood relative alive for him to marry, Lord Steffon Baratheon was sent to Essos to find a suitable woman of Valyrian blood and noble birth. But he was unsuccessful, literally could not find a single one. And actually, on the way back, Steffon Baratheon actually, alongside his wife, died because the ship sunk in the harbor. And fun fact, Steffon Baratheon was actually half Targaryen on his mother's side. I think it was Rhaegar Targaryen that married a Baratheon, which in turn makes Robert Baratheon a quarter Targaryen. And it's kind of amusing considering he wanted to obliterate every single person who had Targaryen blood left in the world, but who's the last person you have to obliterate then? It's yourself. You have Targaryen blood. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think it was used as a sort of legitimization for him to take the throne. Oh, I'm a quarter Targaryen on my mother's side, so I can have the Iron Throne, it doesn't matter. In the end, Rhaegar was betrothed to Princess Elia Martell of Dorne, and she was a distant relative of his through Daenerys II Targaryen, who married a Dornish prince during the reign of Daeron the Good, and Daeron himself was actually married to a Dornish princess, so both of them were siblings who married siblings. Daeron was married to Queen Meria, or it's Miria, I don't know, it was a Y or it was an A. I think maybe even George spelt it wrong a few times, so no one really knows. But anyways, fun fact. Well, they married in 280 AC, and Viserys was actually forbidden from attending because Aerys thought that someone would try to assassinate the young prince. And speaking of Aerys, his relationship with Rhaegar was fraying at the hems. He was so paranoid at this point that it was a cold, it was a distant, it was a very fragile relationship. So Rhaegar and Elia decided to get the hell out of Dodge and move to Dragonstone instead because they probably could not deal with being at King's Landing, and later that year Princess Rhaenys was born. And Rhaella embraced her grandchild warmly, but Aerys, however, claimed that she smelled Dornish and refused to hold her, which I would have thrown hands at that point. I would have been so angry if I was Rhaegar. His second child with Elia came not long after, but both births drained her, and the maester said another child might claim her life. And Rhaegar, unlike all of the other lords who thought that their wives were replaceable, and that they were born to breed, and that it was the will of the gods if they died, and that, they could reuse, reduce, recycle their wives, he actually said, you know what, no, I'm not going to force another child upon you. I'm not going to take your life. I like you. You're a nice person. I do not want to see you dead. Mother of my children. On the contrary to his sister, Aegon came out of the womb looking exactly like the dragon lords of old Valyria, with purple eyes and hair of silver gold. Rhaegar believed his son to be the prince that was promised, Azor Ahai. The man had her brother's hair, but he was taller and his eyes were dark indigo rather than lilac. Aegon, he said to a woman nursing a newborn babe in a great wooden bed. What better name for a king? Will you make a song for him? The woman asked. He has a song, the man replied. He is the prince that was promised, and his is the song of ice and fire. He looked up when he said it, and his eyes met Dany's, and it seemed as if he saw her standing there beyond the door. There must be one more, he said, though whether he was speaking to her or the woman in the bed she couldn't say. The dragon has 3 heads. And his father's paranoia and suspicions turned towards him after Tywin Lannister resigned as Hand of the King. Aerys grew ever suspicious of that first child of his. I think he even threatened to disinherit Rhaegar on a number of occasions and instead make Viserys the heir. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and stay tuned for some more content that will come in the coming weeks. I'm so excited for Sunday to watch the first episode of House of the Dragon, and I might make a reactionary video to it, who knows. But part 2 to this should hopefully arrive in a week or so. Take care in the meantime, and please like, subscribe, put on post notifications, and do comment, because that's what counts for the algorithm. And if I want to push my videos out there, that's what y'all have to do if you enjoy these videos. Please and thank you. And I hope you're all staying safe and that you're taking care of yourselves. I really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a nice day. Bye.